All right, our executive editor, Brian Sozzi, got a chance to sit down with DoubleLine founder and CEO Jeffrey Gundlach in an exclusive interview yesterday. They discussed a lot, everything from the 2024 election to the impact of the debt ceiling.
I love this tweet and very informative as always. On January 17th of last year, you said, the 2024 presidential election is barreling down the tracks. Fasten your seatbelts. Take us through some of your thinking as it pertains to the markets as we head into that event.
Well, it's too early now, way too early for the markets to be focusing in on this. But I've been predicting for quite some time that we're not far away from a presidential election that nobody wins the Electoral College. In other words, it'd be three parties. And it looks like 2024 could be, it's not the odds-on probability, but it's far greater than it's been in a while, ever since maybe Ross Perot or something like that. And it's because the parties don't exist anymore. You know, the Republicans have been fighting since Trump showed up on the scene, and that hasn't stopped. And now the Trump supporters are yelling at each other that they're starting to hate each other. And on the other side, I mean, you've got this radical part of the party, which has dominated much of the agenda, and then you've got all these really old people that just won't give it up. And I think that the embedded supporters of the old people will be fighting with the younger generation. And that could lead to a three-party or even a four-party type of a situation. So that would be a real problem if it got thrown into the House of Representatives.
Well, I imagine a big problem for markets?
Sure. I mean, because markets don't like uncertainty. And, you know, we've had, over this 40-year falling interest rate period and Fed to the rescue and all that, you know, we've had sort of a one-party system. I mean, there wasn't much difference between the Bushes and Clinton and Obama. There really wasn't much difference. And then Trump showed up and he forced a difference. And it revealed, you know, discord underneath the surface of American society, and it hasn't gotten any better, obviously. All you have to do is read the news. You have to read two opposing news sources, and it's clearly they're watching two different movies. And you know, I hear politicians using the word like America needs a divorce, and then the old people say, no, we just need marital therapy. We need counseling. We don't need divorce. I think counseling usually doesn't work. So I think politics are a pretty big issue, and there's a lot of radical tax proposals of you know, tax the rich and all that, and then, you know, what do we do, and why are we not taking on fentanyl? Why do we have all this tons and tons of fentanyl coming in over the southern border? Why don't they stop it? Why doesn't the political establishment stop it? The only possible reason is because they don't want to, which begs the question, unfortunately, why don't they want to? And there's all kinds of crackball theories about that. You know, oh, they're looking for constituents to vote for them. That I find to be a very poor strategy. Maybe they're doing it, but I don't think it will work. What's to guarantee they're going to vote for them? You know, and some people, you know, think that they're getting money from the cartels. There's all kinds of weird theories. I have no idea. I can't even handicap what the correct answer is, but they don't want to stop it, and this is a real problem. And we seem to want to be perpetually at war, proxy wars primarily with American soldiers either on the periphery or not really getting shot at, or now in Ukraine we're just dumping tons and tons of money. So I really think, you said, what's one of the biggest risks? I don't know if it's a risk for this year or not the months ahead, but I think China taking over Taiwan is a very significant risk. They love the fact, I'm sure, that we are destroying a lot of our munitions in defense of Ukraine, which obviously depletes our ability to arm Taiwan. So they'd love us to blow up all our stuff in Ukraine. And that balloon coming over, there's a lot of odd things going on that one should think that the risk of a greater escalation of hostilities is the odds-on case.
Well, let's stay on the war topic. We are coming up against the 1 year I wouldn't say anniversary, mark of the start of the Russia-Ukraine war. Markets have seemed to put this in the rear-view mirror. Do they need to put it back in front of mind?
I don't think Ukraine war is really the problem. The Ukraine war is a problem for the future because we're depleting our munitions and we're wasting money on it, which is just another piece of the whole budget problem. I think Taiwan's the bigger problem because we have not been very good at articulating a stance on Taiwan, except off the cuff, President Biden has said, we're going to defend Taiwan. He said so. So I said, will you come to defend Taiwan? He said, yes, that's the commitment we made. I don't think we have the ability to do that. Where are we going to get the money from? We don't have any money. We're running a huge budget deficit. It's still a massive percentage of GDP. And don't forget that zero interest rates really helped keep that deficit down because you were funding the deficits at nearly zero interest rates. Now we're talking about 600 billion greater interest payments this year than last year. That's a lot. And what if the Fed actually does go to their dot plot of 5.25, and the market now says it might be 5.5? Well, that's going to make it 800 billion or something like this. This is real money, and so that's just going to make the difficulty of dealing with the debt ceiling that you referenced earlier and the deficit problem obviously that much worse. Jim Grant and Grant's Interest Rate Observer. It was funny. I had been thinking about this and talking about it, and I hadn't communicated with Jim Grant. And then all of a sudden, his last essay, his last publication of 2022, the lead essay, was on this topic of the government is now in the wrong part of the interest rate cycle with borrowing costs going up. And I read it and I said, this guy's been reading, this guy read my mind. I mean, it was almost a verbatim. Well, of course, he writes it better than I can articulate myself, but his points were exactly point by point in the order that I was thinking about them. And that made me think, you know what? This issue is actually starting to get a reality in people's real-time formulation of policy. And so I think that's a big issue, and it's going to be a major, I think it's going to be a major point for the 2024 election.
So we'll see if that ends up happening. Listen, Jeffrey Gundlach made his name by making a lot of money in the bond market.
Bond king. Bond
king. Well, after Bill Gross, he became the de facto bond king. But so it's difficult for me to know if these political predictions and therefore implications for the debt of the United States, which is, of course, the bond market, are going to be true or not.
Yes.
But
you got to wonder. So a couple different places that could come from. Is this some A-list celebrity from Hollywood just spouting out political views? No. But is it possible he's talking his book? Absolutely. So, if there's money involved, you question the motives of somebody. But is he talking his book in a way that's being disingenuous? I don't think so.
I will also say that there have been market participants for a long time who have been flagging with alarm the U.S. debt to GDP, and it hasn't proven to be a problem. Yeah, right. That's not to say it won't eventually, but they've been talking about it for a long time.
Well, and Japan is the canary in the coal mine. We've seen their debt to GDP just absolutely explode, and plus the weakening yuan. Going to be very interesting to see what happens with Japan this year because their central banker, their chief, Kuroda, is out in April, and so I think that's kind of a template for what happens here. The debt ceiling, it's going to get resolved probably at the last minute. Is it going to cause some problems in the risk markets if it's dragged on too long? Yes. I'm concerned about Taiwan as well over the next decade. I don't know who can say when it rears its head, but we've seen the animosity that the Chinese government has towards the capital markets. They like them right now because they're trying to reopen. But 2 years ago, they were shutting the door on Didi, all the new investors. They just slammed the door. Not on Didi, Alibaba. They killed these stocks. They're finally coming back, but just a little. You look at KWeb, the Chinese internet ETF. It's just a fraction, still in the bottom 20-25% of its 2-year range. So I don't know how this plays out. It's going to take a while.
That's the conclusion for now.
Okay.